You know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K24. Myself, Mamuti, alongside me as always, the one and only Mr. BJ Armstrong. BJ, how you doing today?
Oh, man, it's beautiful. Beautiful day. The countdown has begun. The NBA season is quickly approaching, Bo, so you better get your last vacations, holidays, and all of those things out of the way, and then it's time to rock and roll.
BJ, you know I ain't taking no holidays, bro. You know I ain't taking no vacations. You know I'm staying in the lab working. I'll be streaming on Twitch. Shout out to everyone who comes to the Twitch streams. You can catch me at twitch.tv/Hoop Genius. We play some 2K. We talk some NBA. We talk some hot takes and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. And yeah, it's good vibes. We're staying working. We're staying locked in. Let me know what you want to see on the streams by joining the Discord that's linked in the description, and also get your copy of 2K by hitting the link in the description. But what I wanted to talk to you today about, BJ, is yesterday we talked a lot about rumors, but we had some news last week that Buddy Hield and the Indiana Pacers are eyeing trade options after their contract talks stalled. Now, it's not a big surprise given that Tyrese Halliburton is going to be a breakout star in the very near future. And Benedict Mathurin was in the Rookie of the Year race for almost all of the year, and he may be in the starting lineup this year. And they've got Nembhard as well, and they've got some great young players. Buddy Hield a bit older, and given that they couldn't work together on an extension, they're going to be looking to move him elsewhere. According to Shams Charania of The Athletic, Buddy Hield is now 30 years old. Even though he feels like a young player because he's not yet made the playoffs, I think he's the longest current player in terms of games played versus playoff appearances. So no one in the NBA has been there longer than him without making a playoff, and I believe he's third all-time in that list. BJ, Buddy Hield, where do you see him ending up?
Well, I think there are a number of teams that really will love his services because he does, he shoots the ball. He does what he, does at a very high clip, and that's shooting the three, shooting the long ball, and he shoots it at a very high percentage. So I think there will be a number of teams that will be lined up for him. Playoff teams, whether it's Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, Lakers. There are a number of teams I think could utilize what he brings to the court. I'm sure probably the big thing would be what's his value, what's his worth, meaning where people have him as far as a salary. I think that's probably would be the main concern. However, I think when the Indiana Pacers decided to get, I think it was Bruce Brown, I think that would really, that kind of changed things for them in a lot of ways because of financially what it's going to do. So, but I think Buddy's a really good player. I think he's a really good player, and I think someone's going to get a really good player because he was a big part in what Indiana was doing. I know Tyrese Halliburton, these guys receive a lot of the praise for what they're doing, but he is a star in his role. I mean, he's an exceptional shooter. And I just think he has to get to the right place. I think he just has to get to the right place.
Well, you talked about all these playoff teams that you mentioned, but let me throw a name out there and let me get your thoughts on this. The San Antonio Spurs just got Victor Wembanyama. Why not provide some veteran shooting alongside him? How would you like that fit for Buddy Hield?
Well, again, I think the big thing for Victor is let's first figure out what he is and where he's going to play. And you say shooting around him. Right now, I think it's important before you start bringing in players like a Buddy Hield. I think it's important to figure out what you're bringing them around to. Buddy Hield is, we always talk about star players and superstar players. However, Buddy Hield is an elite player in his role. I mean, he shoots the ball as well as, arguably anyone in this league as a role player. Okay. He may not be as accurate as Steph Curry or some of those guys. However, you're talking about a player who's not a max player. It's hard to argue that he's not one of the best, if not the best in the league. I mean, he really can shoot. He's lights out as a shooter.
He was like 43% from deep, putting up 17 points a game, 5 boards and 3 assists.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's. I mean, you're talking about a role player.
over the last 5 seasons, he's made more threes than anyone in the NBA during the regular season. That's more than Dame, more than Steph.
Yeah, I mean, this guy can shoot. So again, I think it's just right fit, right place for him. And where that's going to land, who knows? But I think he's a really, really good player. And if you can surround him around, to me, a bona fide superstar, I think he would be terrific in Milwaukee, for instance.
Milwaukee, fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. I think he would be terrific. But
you almost said it there. Boston, we all know Joe Mazzulla and his obsession with 3-point shooting. They have Malcolm Brogdon. So this is a 2-pronged question that I want to ask you. First of all, I don't like the fit of Buddy Hield for Brogdon because that trade works, sending Brogdon back to Indiana, but you lose another ball handler. There was a report earlier this week that said, or last week, that said Tatum will be the primary ball handler for this team. I don't like that. I said on my Twitch stream, I like Tatum operating off the catch or when he's posted up or in the mid post. I don't want him being a primary initiator of the offense. And if you trade Brogdon, you lose another ball handler because then you're essentially down to Derek White. And this is a turnover happy team at the best of times. So it's a 2-pronged question. The first being, how would you like that deal if from a Celtics or Pacers perspective? But the second part being, there were reports that Malcolm Brogdon is unhappy in Boston, and understandably so, because they traded him for Kristaps Porzingis, and that trade fell through very publicly. And then they ended up having to ship out Marcus Smart. So obviously there's some damage to the relationship there. How do you think that's going to affect the Celtics season? And do you think that's something that will just be forgotten about once they get going?
Well, there are reports, and I've read the reports. However, I think Malcolm Brogdon, in the end, I think he's a true professional.
The president is what they call him.
Yeah, I think he's a true professional. So whatever it is, I think he will deal with it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is, I think he's a true professional. Now, should he feel a certain way or has a legitimate complaint? If I can just be completely transparent, it happens to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That happens to everyone.
Just less publicly.
Yes, that happens to everyone. Everyone, very rarely, it's very rare that you don't get traded and you play for one team. Everyone's going to get traded. Every team, whether they want to admit it or not, they're actively always trying to improve their team. And that means they're trading players. That's just sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I think in the end, from what I know about Malcolm Brogdon and everything I've heard about him, he is a true professional. So I expect him, no matter how this plays out, to be ready to play. However, I was surprised when he was traded. I really was. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, I didn't think he would be traded based on what he did last year. I mean, wasn't he like 6th man of the year or something?
Absolutely. However, the injury to his elbow is a lot more serious than I think the public were aware of. And I think that Brad Stevens was just trying to get away with the fast one by making that trade. And once the Clippers did their due diligence, they pulled out of the deal. And that's the primary reason why they were trying to offload him rather than his play or how he fits on a team. It was more that we don't know if he's actually going to be able to play with this elbow.
Well, that's something like, again, I wasn't privy to, but makes sense. But he's he was terrific for them a year ago. Mm-hmm. And who's their primary ball handler now that Marcus Smart's not there?
It's Derek White. It'll be Derek White.
Yeah, but I think they'll figure it out. So we'll see what
it'll
happens.
be White, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Porzingis, I guess. Or slide Porzingis to the 4 and have Robert Williams and Al Horford coming off the bench to give him some rest. But we'll talk about that soon. In other news around the NBA, 2 of my favorite players, BJ, I know you hate the off-season grinding videos. I know you hate them. But this isn't a video. It's just one simple picture of 2 of my favorite players of all time.
Okay, Marcus Smart and who?
Learning from the master. No. Marcus Smart doesn't need to learn from anyone. He's already there. Right? He's already there. What's anyone going to teach him, right? He's the greatest. Okay. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Hakeem Olajuwon have been training together in the offseason.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Send me that Giannis, photo.
He posted a picture saying, I enjoy being a student of the game, learn, respect, and appreciate greatness. Thank you, Hakeem. And it's Hakeem Olajuwon working out with his fellow Nigerian, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, Gilbert Arenas went on a little rant, as Gilbert Arenas likes to do, to mock Mr. Olajuwon for charging 50K per workout. But I feel like when you are known as the dream and you have multiple NBA championships and you're one of the best scorers the game's ever seen and one of the best defenders the game's ever seen, I feel like 50K is quite a decent price, because I know how much some of these trainers you see on Instagram charge, and some of them charge more than what Hakeem's charging. Let me just say
Speak
that.
on it, Mo. Speak on it. Speak on it, Mo.
I'm not going to speak on any names because I'm not trying to mess up their bags, but there's Instagram trainers that are charging NBA guys more than that for their off-season workouts, where you see the videos #grinded. So I think if I was an NBA player and I'm Giannis making $30-40 million a year, 50K to go train, and if I can master that footwork like Hakeem Olajuwon, I'd pay 500 grand per session, let alone 50 grand per session. But let me ask you this, because we've seen Hakeem work out with Kobe Bryant, we've seen him work out with LeBron James, we've seen him work out with Dwight Howard. Now, if Giannis is adding to this dynamic of playing in the post rather than transition or attacking from the perimeter, how much trouble is the league going to be in?
Well, Mo, the league is in trouble because, as you can see, he continues to add to his catalog and what he brings. I mean, this young man is continuing to add. Now, as you mature in this league, for the most part, you get further and further away from the basket. When he adds a consistent jump shot, I'm not even saying a 3-ball. It's over.
We say this every summer, though. We say this every
summer. Absolutely. But it's going to happen because the guy just shoots. He shoots threes. He may airball it, but he has the confidence to keep shooting it. Now, what I think he's beginning to do is to understand the following. There are only so many players that can play in the last 4 minutes of a game. And everyone talks about Hakeem's footwork, but no one ever talks about his ability to catch the ball in the post and how strong he was to be able to get that ball. Like, Mo, it's one area that the game can turn up. You can't turn up your offense, right? If you make a good move, a great move, and you miss the shot, the other team gets the rebound. Where you can turn up the game is you can turn up your defense. Giannis now is important for a player like him to have great footwork. And the reason it's important for him to have footwork, because unlike average players in the NBA who play a versus one-on-one coverage, Giannis plays against a team. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Giannis plays against a team. So it's important for him to have the proper footwork to not only catch the ball, but catch the ball where he can get it so that he can score. And if not, can pass it to the other 4 guys on the floor. That's essential, right? And playing with a great player. I remember one time we were playing, talking trash, whatever, doing it in practice, and we were talking trash, and I can beat you, you can beat me, let's play one-on-one. And I happened to challenge Michael. I said, hey, let's play one-on-one, right? Okay, okay. I know everybody's like, oh, wow, what's this guy thinking? Okay, but that's what you do when you play, right?
I respect it. I respect
that, right? And I remember him telling me, he was like, no, why should I play one-on-one? It's a waste of time for me because I don't play against one. It takes a whole team to stop me. It only takes one guy to stop you. And I laughed. I thought it was really funny. I still think it's funny to think about. Here's a guy that says, you know what? Yeah, you play one-on-one because that's what you do. But for me, it takes a team. And when you see great players working on their footwork, it's because they understand one guy is not good enough. I don't care who you are to stop them. 2 guys for Michael and Kobe and those guys. But when you have excellent footwork and you have the footwork to have all your options available to you, Mo, because it gets crowded, believe it or not, when 3, 4 or a team, or when a team, you would know that, Mo, because, when you play, it takes a team to stop you. So
the vibes.
I understand. Yeah, I do know the vibes. And I understand why Giannis is working on this. Not to score, but you have to have superior footwork when you're playing against a team, when they're game planning against you, Mo. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hopefully the listener understands.
I think another factor of it, and this is something that Embiid's done really well in recent years, is the quickness of your decision making when you get the ball on the post. Because one thing that Hakeem was great at is catching the ball and having the feel of where the defender's body position is and immediately being able to spin off that. Right. So it's not just the footwork, but it's the speed at which he's made the cognitive decision of, okay, I can feel his elbow on my back. If I spin to the baseline, he's going to not be able to stay with me because his momentum's going forward. Right. So Giannis at the moment, a lot of times when he catches the ball on the post, he'll catch it, take a couple dribbles, turn around, shoot a fadeaway, or he'll catch it, take a couple dribbles, try and get inside. But having that footwork down so well that the speed of your decision making greatly improves. That's another thing.
Your speed of your game, but the game will actually slow down to you. It's a funny thing, the game will slow down for you.
But then there's so many layers to it, right? Because first of all, there's that element of it, the speed of his decision making. Then second of all, once he's scored a few times in the post, you're going to have to start coming to double team him. And then the speed of which you can make those passes out to your teammates as well. And knowing where everyone's going to be in those spots, it's just going to be open threes, which makes the game easier for his teammates. And then the biggest thing is, Giannis right now plays downhill, right? And teams have the chance to load up on him. He's got the ball in his hands and he's attacking from the perimeter in. They can stuff as many players as they want between Giannis and the basket, right? To try and get the ball out of his hands, whatnot. When he's posting someone up, you can't load up on him because you're going to get a defensive 3-second call if you've got 2, 3, 4 defenders coming to the paint to try and load up in Giannis. So I think that's another look that, he's not what I would consider a post-heavy player. It's not like, a guy like MB that you're going to feed the ball into down low, right? Because Giannis offers so much with his speed and explosiveness. But as he gets older, everyone talks about, when he gets older, he's going to need to develop his outside shot. But what if he just gets stronger and stronger and starts crushing everyone on the inside? Like, if you remember watching Hakeem Olajuwon or remember watching prime Shaquille O'Neal, all you got to do is get them the ball on the post. And here's what's going to happen. A, it's going to be a foul. B, it's going to be a dunk. Or C, it's going to be an assist to a wide open shooter. And then from that, they just play. And I think if that happens, then Giannis unlocks a whole new level to his game that is still there to be unlocked. And this is a guy already putting up 30 points tonight. So if he's...
I think the big thing, Mo, is we can't forget as fans of the game is that he's going to be playing in a new system this year under Adrian Griffin.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what this all means, right? Because they're going to be running, I presume, they're going to be running a new offense. They're going to emphasize different things, even though they have the same players. But I think they're going to probably highlight different things that they feel that they can do with this group. And so I'm kind of excited to see what he's going to do. I happen to have spent some time with Coach Griffin this summer, actually at Coach Sir's, Coaching You. And he was one of the guest speakers. And
awesome.
We just happened to have a little sidebar, and he was kind of giving me some insight to what he's going to do with Giannis, And so I'm really excited. And I think a lot of things we'll see without, giving away too much from what Coach Griffin was able to share with me is they're going to utilize him on the weak side. They're going to not ask him to play as much on the strong side of the defense, right? They're going to move the ball here, pop him in.
For the listeners, the weak side is the side where the ball isn't, where there's usually less players, where you play as more of a help defender.
Yeah, so I think they're going to move him around a little bit and not rely on him to generate all of the offense in transition, accept the double team, pass it. So I think they're going to do a lot of different things, use him as a decoy, and then try to really have him become a finisher of the game more so than a facilitator at this stage. So we'll see how it works, but I think he's really excited. I think Giannis is excited, but more importantly, I think it's fantastic that he's learning from one of the all-time greats, right? I mean, there are a lot of great players who play the game, but Hakeem Olajuwon is one of the all-time greatest players, regardless of position, of all time on both sides of the ball, right? He's in the rarefied space where you're talking greatest of all time. I mean, he was that good of a player. So I think it's incredible that Giannis chose him, Hakeem Olajuwon, as someone to mentor him and give him insight on the game, because you talk about a player, Mo. He was He was
I think he's
incredible.
one of the most underappreciated superstars we've ever seen, and I think he's
Well,
one of the most
maybe on the
disrespectful
outside.
when people make these lists. You know, when people make these top 10 lists. If I see,
Well,
I always say this to people: if I see your top 10 list and Hakeem Olajuwon ain't on your top 10 list, you can't talk to me about basketball.
yeah,
That's what I say.
He he's one of the greatest players of all time. Like players. Like he should have probably been a power forward, but he played the center position. But he was so good, he's one of the all-time greatest centers of all time.
Yeah.
But Mo,
well, they have the Twin Towers early in his career, so
yeah, he was exceptional. I mean,
so when you were playing
offense,
against
whatever.
him, and you're obviously guarding, the Kenny Smiths of the world or the guards who are on the Houston Rockets, right? Once they get the ball into Hakeem on the post, what's going through your head? Are you thinking, I got to go double him? Are you thinking, I got to stick to my man? Like, what's the thought process that you had when it's really like catch-22, whatever you decide?
Well, when Dream was earlier in his career, early, like when I say early in his career, everyone goes through their learning, learning. I remember there was a big jump in his game, and the big jump was defensively. He was elite from day one. But the biggest jump was he started learning how to pass the ball. Like he figured out that, yeah, I could score 30, but, he didn't really know how to facilitate and manage the game. I think we get caught so much up in the scoring and the numbers, and this guy needs help and this guy did. But some of these star players, they know how to manage a game. And I remember playing right around 94 or somewhere around there.
Yep.
There was Hakeem was just a monster. I mean, you were like, oh man, we're playing against Hakeem. So what did I think? And answer your question, like you try to support whoever was guarding him as best you can, because he figured out how to catch the ball on the move. Like he would catch it and gone. He didn't catch it and wait.
Yep. That's what I'm talking about. The quickness of the decision making.
He was, and his footwork was so phenomenal. He was catching it and creating space. Like you're coming to double him and he's doing a move. So you didn't run to him to double him because he was looking to pass it. He was making a move and you didn't know really what he was doing. And he was so quick that you had to approach him with caution, right? You couldn't just run. You would double some bigs and you could just run to him because you were just faster and quicker than they were. With Hakeem, he was quicker than you, and you were a guard. He was just really quick. He was just, his decision making was he was just a unique player. But once he started passing the ball, right around 94, somewhere around there, he started passing the ball and moving towards the ball, right? Imagine going to double Hakeem Olajuwon. He would pass it over your head to make you turn around as you should, and then he would follow you.
Mm-hmm.
And he was manipulating the game, as you guys would say. He was playing with the cheat code. So he started learning how to if he didn't want to double team, he would throw the ball in and he would throw it right back before you could double team.
Yeah,
and then you didn't know what to do, and then he would catch it. Then he would go as you were going back to guard your man because he was taking advantage of the rules of the game. He was manipulating the game, and he was literally a cheat code because of his speed and quickness. You couldn't double team him. He was one of the few bigs. Okay, this is getting very technical. He was one of the few bigs where you couldn't double team him with a big guy because he was too quick.
Mm-hmm.
You had to double team him with the guard. Now, why is that important? Because he was 6'10", 6'11", so he always had a clear vision passing the ball out of a double team, because if you brought another big with him, that big was probably too slow to guard him. So he was just a unique player that caused so many problems, where for the most part, you just tried to zone up against him to force him to shoot fadeaways. But as you know, the dream shake was probably better than his layup. And then once he started doing that, and then he started crossing over and all the fakes and all this stuff, he was just impossible to guard. And he was literally impossible for us to guard. And he could play in transition, half court. It didn't matter. He was just that good.
Man, unbelievable. Unbelievable. But yeah, BJ, that's another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast. And on tomorrow's episode, we might have a special guest.
Oh,
Are we gonna let the people know who, or are we gonna keep that secret for tomorrow?
Okay, let's keep it a secret.
Friend of the show rejoins us. Stay tuned. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. You know, join the Discord so you don't miss it. Follow on Twitch. I might drop some hints. But most importantly, above all of that, just like Hakeem Olajuwon himself.
Yes.
You know the vibes. Get buckets.